What's going on, everybody? It's DotBets. We're checking back in. We have our week 18 on the Dot Show coming at you guys here on the Gold Boys Network. As always, we're joined today with my co-host, Sidekick Picks. How are we feeling this afternoon?
Doing good. Ready to dive into this kind of strange slate that we have this weekend.
Yeah, it is the it is the crazy, chaotic week 18 slate. This used to be the week 17 slate until they obviously added a couple more weeks on here. But yeah, so there's a lot of teams with motivation. There's a lot of teams that are just playing for straight up pride. How are you looking into the slate? How are you kind of going through your player prop process, your DFS process? What's the one thing that you probably should advise out there this week?
So I think the biggest thing is just trying to figure out who's playing and who's
Yeah.
going to sit a little bit this week, and that's kind of been the struggle, especially trying to dive into it like Friday night and Saturday. We haven't gotten a lot of um, prop lines to drop, so I mean, we're a little limited today, just in terms of that, but I think we found some good props a little early that I think will hit moving forward here.
Yeah, and if this is your first time tuning in, make sure you guys are on Twitch or YouTube. Throw a comment down and let us know what your favorite bet of the week is. And make sure you guys can ask any question you guys want regarding the Week 18 DFS slate, player props, anything like that. For those of you guys maybe in fantasy football championships that got affected by the Bills Bengals games, I'd love to hear what the resolution was in your league. Our league had a humongous debacle in it where they ended up just splitting the pot when one guy was going to win by probably 40 points because he had Burrow and Higgins, but the game didn't finish. So the guy had Tyler Bass. He was ultimately up by 9 points at the end. He was telling everybody that he won the league. And we were like, the game was incomplete. You can't count that. It was a big debacle. Love to hear how you guys had some resolutions on that front for fantasy football championships that I knew got affected. Side, did you have one that in any of your leagues?
Oh, I smoked my best friend by like 100 points.
So it didn't matter.
So
Yeah.
so sorry, buddy, but there was no denying that one.
I like it. I like it. But yeah, if you guys are on Twitch or YouTube, throw a comment in there. If you guys are tuning in on Twitter, make sure you just simply retweet this. Appreciate all the support from you guys tuning in each and every week of the regular season. So let's dive in to the DFS slate. We have two teams, one of them that is not on the main slate in DraftKings, but they are on the main slate for FanDuel. So if you're playing FanDuel, the Green Bay Packers, the Lions game could be one of the most meaningful games of the slate, depending on if Seattle wins or not. I still think even if Seattle wins, the Lions will play tough. They have a lot of milestones to go for, especially Jamal Williams, and just just for pride. And they don't like each other, so they're going to play pretty dang hard regardless. And then you also have the Patriots, who, if they win, they're in. So you got a lot of different motivating factors. And then you have some seeds with Buffalo, Cincy, Dallas, 49ers, and the Eagles. So tons and tons of motivated teams. And that's where we really want to target this week for DFS. You really need to pick and choose your battles this week accordingly. And my number one advice for week 18 is always scale back with your bankroll because it is such a chaotic week. I mean, if you put maybe 3% or 4% of your bankroll in, maybe put 1 to 2. That's what I'm going to do this week. So we'll still discuss some stacks and some sleepers. So let's get into Side's first stack of the week.
All right, so I actually like the stack a lot that you're betting, but because you're going to talk about it, I went with this one here.
Yep.
Just based off of projections and an overall salary cap, this was one of the top lineups that you could put together in terms of a stack. I'm not excited about Andy Dalton. He's probably the big reason why I was iffy on putting this out here, but this Carolina defense, secondary wise, is completely awful. We just saw Tom Brady throw for over 400 yards against them last week, and Andy Dalton could do that this week. I don't think he's going to throw for 400 yards, but if he gets us close to that 20-point range, I think this will be a good lineup for us. His ceiling that I have is 21 points, but realistically, he's probably going to get around 15, 16 points, I think. But he gets Olave back, which I think is going to help. I don't recommend playing all four of these guys for New Orleans, but I wanted to add all four of them just to kind of show you what their pricing is and to talk about them a little bit. So you could either go Kamara, Olave, or Shaheed here, and I feel pretty confident about it. Shaheed has the most value in terms of salary to projection and ceiling out of all three of those guys. So if you're playing another lineup, I think you should definitely plug in Shaheed. But if you are going with this one, I think you have a little bit of wiggle room with trying to fit in either one of these guys. Olave, I think, is playing for an incentive as well. What is it? I think it's like 150 receiving yards or something like that, and he gets a bonus. And he torched Carolina the last time out, so I think he's a good look here. Kamara, I think the running backs this week are a little tough to kind of pick up on, but I think Kamara has been consistent over the past few weeks, which is why I plugged him in. And then DJ Moore has just come onto the scene over the past few weeks with Sam Darnold. So I don't like his pricing at all. I think 6,100 is kind of a stretch for him, but it's week 18 and not a lot of guys out there to really choose from. So I think you kind of have to bite the bullet here if you're going to play this stack, and you have to come back with DJ Moore. And the big reason why I wasn't going to stack the other side of this, because I was flirting with playing Sam Darnold just because I think that gives us a better option at quarterback, but I just don't like anyone else on that team. I think Foreman is a little banged up, and I don't think his production is going to be there in comparison to the other three guys on the other side of the ball. And I think there's more value playing Saints than Carolina in this stack.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints defense has been pretty dang good against the pass once again, like it's supposed to be. But I would kind of lean maybe a 2x1 Carolina stack on top of this too, where Sam Darnold has been pretty damn good the last 3 weeks or so,
20 plus points the past few weeks. So
yeah, and you can't really trust Terrence Marshall. You can't trust. I mean, you could maybe throw Hubbard in there, but I mean, throw Darnold, throw Moore in 2x1, and you come back with either Shaheed or Olave or Kamara. I like that side as well. You can't go wrong this side. I hate playing Andy Dalton. It's so tough. It's so tough to have him, in a
he's
stack.
only had. I think he's only had 2 20-point games this season.
Yeah, and I would assume that they are probably at home too. He's a better home quarterback in the dome, so I don't mind this. It's a very tough week to stack. I'll show you guys my top stack for the week here, but I would also recommend maybe toning it down to like 2x1s, maybe 1-0, 2-0 stacks. It's just a tough week itself to stack, with the games being maybe high 30s, low 40s. So if you guys are maybe looking and you can't really decide which one, maybe just go dumb it down to a 2x1 or a 2-0 stack. So I'll get into mine. We're gonna go with the Rams Seahawks game. That currently I think sits at, what's that over under? I think it's at 42. So on the high scale of the week. I mean, this is a game that incredibly matters to the Seahawks. The Rams, they've shown for the last several weeks, and once they've been out of it, they are still playing hard. They're still playing for jobs in the league. Baker, Akers, and then you also have Van Jefferson. Higbee has been very good as well. And you also have those speed receivers in Atwell and Brandon Powell. So you have some elite guys that you can get different with. This is probably the best stack in my eyes how to do it with Smith, Lockett, and Metcalf. Because Fant, I think, is questionable with an injury. If you want to play Parkinson's, you can. I really don't advise it, though. This is probably the boy to go unless you want to maybe sub out Lockett and you go Walker. And if
That's
you
what
went
I
Walker,
was going to suggest, because
yeah.
Walker is very, very high on my model for terms of value. He's number 2 for running back production this week in my model.
His pricing is incredibly off.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of Walker. I'm thinking of upside for the entire game. Maybe get a little bit different with Lockett and Metcalf, knowing that Geno Smith does have some incentives left to go after. But if you're coming on the backside with the Rams, you could either go Akers or Higbee here. And if you want to get a lot, really, really different, like I said, you could go Jefferson or Atwell. But I'm going to stick with Akers, who has been lethal as of late. I mean, you drafted him in fantasy football leagues thinking he could be this guy. He goes through a little temper tantrum where he doesn't want to play, asks for a trade, then he gets back on there and is showing currently what he can do for the NFL. And so I like this side of it. You could potentially go the Baker side, but with the Seahawks at home, probably is going to lean more on this Seattle with Smith, Lockett, Metcalf, and bring it back with Akers.
Yeah, I think this is the stack to play this week. Like I said, I like this one. This is the one I was going to play, but I was going to sub in Walker for either one of those receivers. And I like Atwell just in terms of value. He's going to be one of my sleeper picks that we'll talk about. On my board, he's the 4th best option in terms of value with his pricing to production here. 3,400 projection, 10 points could get you 14 to 15 points at best.
I like it. Yeah. Yep. And then 2 other stacks that I'll throw at you guys. The one that's kind of growing on me is this Patriots-Bills game. And the fact of the matter is Hamlin is incredibly a lot better. He's already talked to his teammates. They have came out and said they are so pumped and ready to get back at it. And the Bills could absolutely roll. And the Patriots have to win as well. This could be a very competitive game. Over under is 43.5, so it is the top of the main slate. But I got a very good feeling Buffalo is going to be very motivated to win this game and send a statement to the rest of the league. They're ready to go into the playoffs. So you could go the Bills side here. 3-1 Bills, Patriots. The other one is the Vikings-Bears game. Obviously, you're going to stack the Vikings side and not go with the worst quarterback in the NFL with Nathan Peterman. But you also don't know how long the Vikings will play. That's my defense with that. I just don't know how long they're going to play. If they get up by double digits or so, they could potentially rest their starters. So probably the one I would lean to is the Patriots-Bills. Of anybody, you got any other ones that you might lean to?
I kind of like the Buccaneers and Falcons stack, but the concern is how long the starters are going to play for the Bucs. But I think there's tons of potential on that Falcons team too. Drake London's been coming on. Algier has been playing out of his mind. So there's, Godwin and Evans just connected huge last week. So I think there's a ton of potential there. There's just some concerns, and I kind of like the San Fran game. But,
San Fran, yep.
But kind of the same thing. Stacking Purdy, Ayuk, and or even Kittle and CMC is pretty nice, but probably a little pricey.
Yeah, and just to round it out, you got Burrow and company. they're playing in a meaningful game against the Ravens. You could always stack them. Then you also, right now, currently it's Jalen Hurts and going to be the quarterback. But you just don't know how long he's going to play. But their
Yeah,
team
that's been
total is
the
pretty
talk
high.
all week was, is he just going to get a quarter or two?
Right. So I'm off of the Eagles game. And you could potentially go to Burrow and Cincy, but I like the Bills, Patriots, and then my top stack of the week is definitely Seattle and the Rams. So let's get into some sleepers. We'll go running back position, wide receiver, and tight end. With your quarterbacks, basically play the stacks. That's plain and simple. So who are some of your sleeper running backs? I know you talked about Walker. He's currently at 19% ownership. Definitely is going to be high on at 6,400. But someone under 10%? Who do you like?
Under 10%. I don't mind Latavius Murray. Right now he's at 7.7%, $5,400. I have his projections at 14 with a ceiling of 19.7. So I think there's some good potential right there. I like Algier, but again, his ownership is 28 right now.
Yeah.
You could go Zach Moss.
Damn it, you took mine. I was gonna.
Just because Houston's defense is terrible.
Yep.
The only drawback here is the Colts is a dumpster fire right now. But Zach Moss has shown a little bit here and there. $5,200, 13.3 projection with 19.3 as a ceiling. He could potentially gash this defense up. He might score, but who knows with that offense.
I was a big fan of Zach Moss. He's gonna be. I'm gonna be overweight on the field of him for sure, just because of the matchup, and they're gonna play tough regardless. That's just how the NFL works. They're gonna play hard. And Zach Moss wants to prove himself to the league. So that's my number one. Number two is another guy I'll talk about in the prop section is Nick Chubb, and he just plain and simple. Every single week, there's probably a handful of weeks where he just goes unnoticed for whatever reason. He's sub 10% owned, and he'll break a 100-yard or a rushing game and a touchdown. And I'm hoping that we get that this week. But Zach Moss and Chubb currently, I think that's because Chubb's 7,500. That's definitely a big reason why he is sub 10%. But you gotta find those guys, and you gotta, maybe you go off of Cam or not Cam, but you go off of some of those more expensive guys, like Tony Pollard or something like that, and you pay up for Nick Chubb, and then you get a little bit different on the wide receiver end, and your lineup is completely different than a lot of people that you're playing in those different in those contests. So give me some Nick Chubb this week. I was trying to think of one more. I'm looking at. So with Connor being out, Corey Clement is a good option for Arizona. It's just a cluster in that game. You got a 14-point dog. Maybe he catches some passes for you. But it's, he's really, really cheap at 4,900. So that's another option that you can go with to get some a cheap option there. But my top two would probably be Moss and Chubb at the running back position. All right, what do you think of any sleepers for wide receivers?
So we already talked about a couple of them. The only issue with the ones I mentioned is their ownership is a little high. So Shaheed is at 17.3 ownership.
Yeah.
Drake London's at 21. Atwell is 11.2. But I like those three guys. They've been coming on and they're super cheap. I mean, Atwell at 3,400 is a steal. If you're looking for another one, again, this guy's kind of high, but Jacoby Myers is $5,100, projected 12 points with a ceiling of 17.6. He's the number one guy there in New England. Playoff implications that Bills secondary is a little shaky from time to time, and one thing that Jacoby hasn't really done in New England is score. But over the past couple of weeks, he's been scoring. So hopefully they keep feeding the hot hand. But I think he's, if you're trying to mix it up a little bit, because those top three sleepers that I mentioned are pretty heavily owned, you can come back with with him and Jacoby Myers, and I think you'll be pretty safe there as well.
I hope London does something, man. I was so pissed at him last week because he didn't cash for me. That was he had like 8 or 9 targets, and he only had, I think he caught 4 of them, and they just couldn't get there. Needed that last little drive to happen, and it did not happen for us. But no, I think he's in a good spot this week. They are definitely going to be playing hard. They've been playing hard the last 3 or 4 weeks when they've been eliminated. So I don't see that changing. I know the Bucks will play some with their starters, but most of the time they'll probably be with their bench players. London can definitely take advantage of that. So my 2 sleepers, one is going to be one I was on last week that had a lot more ownership, but now he is coming in sub 10%, is Marquise Brown. Don't know why. He is probably, I think he's similar price. He's 5,300. Oh, I think he went up a couple hundred, but he has got another week down with David Plow, and I think he ended up having like 10 or 11 fantasy points. So, I mean, you put another week under your belt, no Hopkins, he's going to be the number 1 going against San Fran, who needs to win, should win comfortably, maybe rest some of their guys, and you get Marquise Brown against some backups. Love that for us this week. Another guy is Jerry Jeudy. He's gonna be playing hard again. He's coming in under 10%, currently at 6%. Russ should still be throwing for the Broncos, and they're gonna be playing for pride. And this Chargers team doesn't have much to play for. Again, maybe playing against backups. Those are 2 wide receivers, one A-ish, one B-ish for Jeudy and Sutton. But I really, really like those 2 to get a little bit different lineups for you this week.
Do you like Dortch?
Yeah, his price. What does his price go up to? Let me search for him. Dortch. He's at 3,800. I think he went up from min price last week. He just allowed you last week to do so much different stuff and fit in all those studs at 3,000. Going up an additional 800. I don't mind it. You definitely can still get there. I'd probably lean more towards Marquise Brown at 5,300 with his massive workload going up there. So any tight ends you'd like this week? A little sleeper.
Yeah, I think this one's a little chalky. Well, this week with tight ends is going to be a little chalky just because you're going to want to play, or I think most people are going to want to play the guys that are projected to play and do well here. Like Pat Fryermuth is,
this week.
but he's so heavily owned. It's 25%.
Yeah.
But his value is crazy with $3,800. Jelani Woods, he's going to be the number 1 tight end again this week at $2,900. The Texans struggle against tight ends. I can't believe I picked 2 Colts this week for sleepers, but he's been doing pretty good. They like this guy. He played 60% of the snaps last week. He played 63 of the snaps the week before that. In those 2 weeks, he's had 14 points and 6 points. So he's a guy, if they ever get to the red zone, they'll definitely be looking his way. And he's a big body with some speed, so he can get open in the middle of the field too.
So 2 that I got, or I'll say 3. Number 1 is definitely Tyler Higbee. He's coming in for my projections at 8%. If he stays around there, you play him. You play him a lot. You can play him in stacks or outside of it. The other guys in that same game, depending on Noah Fant's injury status, but it could be Colby Parkinson, who scored a touchdown last week. And if he is in line for a bigger role, especially in a game they need to win, guy is a dump off machine, and Gino loves throwing to his tight end still. So give me some Colby Parkinson there. And then you also have Cade Otton this week, who doesn't do much, but you end up benching some of those key guys. I think Cade Otton stays in there for the majority of the game, and you can get some solid value at min price on DK at 3,000. So
you
call me crazy, but I like Cade this week.
You could potentially go Albert O.
That's true. Yep.
With with Dortch on the IR. He's going to be plugged in. He had a good week last week. 6 targets. He had a touchdown.
He scored a touchdown. Yep.
Yeah. He just hasn't been consistent and got passed up. So I don't know how much faith I have in that offense either. But at $2,900, if you're looking for another cheap guy, I think the strategy this week I think Higbee is probably your best overall value. But I think the strategy is to kind of surround your other guys with studs and go cheap on tight end.
Yeah, and I think you could go cheaper wide receivers, pay up for those running backs, and then see how much salary you have left over, depending on what you want to do at tight end. And then obviously, we always suggest kind of punting defense, especially when you have a lot of backups playing this week. So just target those defenses that are playing majority of those backups that maybe this is their first week. The Vikings play the worst absolute quarterback in the NFL. So, target him. I think they're a little bit more expensive, but it's never a bad idea to go that route.
Texans is $2,700.
Who?
The Texans.
Could go that route. Definitely go that route.
To the moon.
Yeah, the Falcons aren't a bad idea because you're going to play against some of those backups for the Bucks at 2,400. Not a bad idea there. Yeah, that's probably a good couple options there. Then I said the Vikings. What are they currently at? Vikings. They're at 2,900. So very, very. I would say you can get there with the Vikings this week for sure. All right, so that is all for the DFS for the main slate for Week 18. If you have any other questions on those, make sure you guys throw them in the comments below. We had a couple comments. Jay Hill says, bang, and got him. Oh, you got him, says Hunter Renfrow, anytime touchdown plus 430. So, yeah, we do have 2 games. They are about to kick off, I would say, within the hour. That the first game is the Chiefs Raiders today, and then you have the great game tonight with the Jaguars and the Titans in a win, and you win the division and you're in game. So any thoughts on those 2 games? And we do have a same game parlay that we'll give out here shortly. Any props that you're maybe looking at that one? My best bet is from the game tonight. But then if you want to just dive into maybe some leans that you got as well for the 2 games today.
Yeah, I got a prop for that, but it's my second one. Do we want to wait? I don't want to throw Eli off.
If Eli's good, yeah, go ahead. You can go with your prop for the game.
All right, so my prop for the Raiders game is Darren Waller over 36.5 receiving yards. He's hit this. Actually, I'm sorry, 33.5 receiving yards. He's hit this in 3 straight. He came back last week and looked the part. I know the Chiefs struggle covering tight ends, and I just think he's going to click with Stidham again. They're going to look to get him the ball, get him involved, and I think this is super low for him, a guy that can easily get over this mark. So I think that's a solid play for Darren Waller.
Yeah, no, I've had a couple people ask me whenever Waller came back off of the injury, oh, should I play him in fantasy? Should I do this prop? Should I do that prop? I was like, man, just wait and see. Well, he's shown us that he is definitely back and in full force, and the books can't put a line up high enough. And I think, especially in the matchup against the Chiefs, 52.5 point total. I love this play with Waller, and this is definitely included into our same game parlay, as I think this is a good way to attack the slate there. And if we do want to throw up the same game parlay, we'll go through that real quick. And then we know there's some milestones. So these have a little bit of milestone in it. Obviously, everyone knows Patrick Mahomes is chasing the all-time record. I think he needs like 430. It's going to be a crazy, crazy game. I don't think he's going to get there.
No way. Peyton Manning's the man, best quarterback of all time.
I still think he's going to try. And what I thought about strategically is like, yeah, they definitely want it to happen. There's going to be a lot of deep balls I think he throws today, and more often than not. And so you have Tony, you have I think MVS is still in there, but you definitely are going to see some deep balls thrown by Patrick Mahomes. 300 yards is not out of the question. He does this.
Kelsey, I think, is 12 catches away from the tight end record.
At 12, yeah, I couldn't think
I
off
think
the
it's
top of my head.
12.
But I mean, 60 yards for Travis. We should get there. We just talked about why we like Waller. I know the Raiders limited Kelsey last time they played, but Kelsey also had like 3 touchdowns, so they still can't cover the man. I don't think anybody in the league can. So let Travis do his thing. And then in the nightcap, there are 3 incentives. For whatever reason, when I was making this on FanDuel, they don't have Evan Ingram's alternate receiving yards for the same game parlay. So I wanted to add that. If it ends up adding that before the game, go ahead and do that. But you can because he's got I think it's like 50, or no, it's like 62. He's got to get for the for his next incentive. And then you have Christian Kirk, who needs 91, I believe, for an incentive and like 2 catches to have like $1 million payday. Kirk, 50 plus yards. I think his total yards right now is like 56 and a half. I like this alternate receiving. And then Derrick Henry, I think he needs 70 and 2 touchdowns for like the 1500 milestone. But I just don't think, regardless, you got Josh Dobbs as your quarterback. You're going to heavily lean on Derrick Henry tonight. I know the Jaguars are very good at stopping the run, but Derrick Henry can get 70 and a touchdown tonight. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I like all this too. Another guy you could potentially throw into the mix would be Zay Jones.
Yep.
I think it's 50. I think it's 50 yards, and he gets like 600K or something like that, something crazy. So he's another guy that's real close to a milestone. I was looking at Derrick Henry over 21 and a half carries. I couldn't pull the trigger because that's pretty much right on par with what he's been doing. But just like you said, they're going to feed him. So
Yeah.
I think that's another good play. But I think
they got to control the game, though, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. They definitely got to control it for that to happen.
This is the script right here, I think. So feel pretty good about this SGP. Again, if you're taking it, don't go heavy on it.
Oh yeah, this is definitely lotto territory.
Dark,
if you do a full unit, maybe go 0.25 units, 0.2 units. Obviously, bankroll management on these lottos for sure. So yeah, let us know in the comment if you guys are riding that same game parlay with us for today. So I'll get into my first play of the week. It's going to be Nick Chubb, and that is over 70 and a half rush yards. And I think that's minus 114 I got. So, the graph speaks to itself here. It's in a tough matchup against the Steelers, who have been pretty dang good recently, and they still have something to play for. But this Browns team is trying to end its season on a positive note. Would love to ruin the Steelers' chances here. And I think Nick Chubb, in a big way, should get there. As you guys can see, he already has 113 yards against Pittsburgh this season. So really like what I'm seeing from Nick Chubb. And he had 100. He's got 99, 92, and 104 last several weeks. Definitely still running hard. His rush attempts, you're averaging close to 20 in the last 3. So they're still feeding him. And Deshaun has struggled at times to get this offense rolling. So they are going to continue to rely on Nick Chubb and do his thing to end the season. So I think we can get easily to 80 yards here.
Yeah, and they're division rivals, so they're gonna be balling it out here. I actually have a prop from the same game, and this one's a little against the grain here, but it's been hitting, so I'm gonna take a shot at it. Deshaun Watson. This line actually dropped a yard, so. Right now, you can get it on DraftKings at over 18 and a half rushing yards at minus 120. But if you find 19 and a half, I think that's pretty safe too. He has hit it in 5 straight games. I think 20 is that sweet spot. This is a guy that is mobile, can get out of the pocket, pick up 5 yards a pop. Last week he had 8 carries. The week before that he had 3. Then he had 6, 6, and 7. So he's definitely gonna get out of the pocket, scramble a little bit, especially with that defensive front from Pittsburgh. He's gonna have to move a little bit more today. So I think he gets out of the pocket and picks up those yards that we need to cash this again.
Yeah, and he's definitely tried to use his feet a little bit more in recent weeks just to get those drives extended. So I like this play for sure. What do you say, 18 and a half now it went down to?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they juiced a little bit more. So
Yep.
I think 20 would be my max on it.
Yeah, so we're definitely all over the Browns running game here. So hopefully we get there with the Browns and that big divisional matchup there with the Steelers. Before I head into our second and final prop of the week for me, make sure you guys are checking out props.cash. Use our promo code OnTheDot for 25% off the monthly subscription. Shout out to those guys, awesome guys. So their platform is literally probably the first or second place that I go to make sure I research. Or if I end up liking a play from a sportsbook, I refer back to them. I look on their graphs and say, oh, that makes sense. Look at all their data. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and pull the trigger there. So, and then if you guys do need access, help tracking your bets with your bankroll allocations, everything like that, Pickett Sports is the way to go. And also with some line shops, they do a great job. Make sure you guys use the code GOLDBOYS. So go right ahead, go to Pickett Sports and then at props.cash. All right, let's get to my prop of the week. We're going to go back to the stack of the week and go Kenneth Walker, 75.5 rush yards. It's like minus 125. So it was juiced a little bit. I've seen it come down to, it was at 80.5 on, I think it was FanDuel, but then we got 75.5 on DraftKings. I think it's currently at 78.5 on FanDuel. So it's fluctuating a little bit. But this is a great spot here as the Rams defense without Aaron Donald cannot stop a nosebleed. So you got Kenneth Walker, who's going to get 20 plus carries because he's got that the last 2 weeks in a row. They know this is a must win. They are going to continue to feed him. I wouldn't be opposed if someone wanted to maybe go 70 plus and a touchdown in the same game parlay. I think he gets in. He has a majority of the red zone history for this Seattle team when they get into the red zone. So love what I'm seeing from Kenneth Walker, and I think he can get close to right around 80 yards rushing with the volume and matchup that he has tomorrow afternoon. What do you think about that one? You like Walker this week?
Yeah, I love that play. I think that's that's why I think I lean more towards plugging him in the DFS lineup just because I think he's going to have a monster game.
Yeah. And I almost want Akers receiving yards because it's like 10.5. And the Seahawks struggle against pass catching running backs. It's just, I don't know if McVay is going to pull a fast one and say, hey, let's do Kyron Williams this week. And let's have him take all the receiving yards. So I still think Akers is in a great spot for DFS, for rushing and everything like that. But I'm just was a little hesitant there. Do you got any other props that you want to discuss?
I got a best one.
You got best bets. So let's do your touchdown of the week, and then we'll go to best bets to wrap it up.
So I actually have 2 touchdowns. But the first one, man, I'm riding the wave. I don't know how much he's gonna play, but I'm assuming he's gonna get. He's gotta get a few touches here down in the red zone. Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh yeah.
The odds were too good for it. A guy that has scored every game since week 6, plus 140. You got to take a shot with him. I think that's a beautiful graph right there.
Yeah.
I know Pollard's back. He's going to cut into his touches, but these guys both score. Dallas values the running game over the passing game, and Washington is super banged up. I don't think that defensive line is going to be able to contain either one of these guys, but at plus 140, I feel like this is a good spot for him to get another one.
And the Cowboys are still playing for seeds. If somehow, some way the Eagles and the 49ers lose, they get the 1 seed. So obviously, I think they're going to play the game very, very tough in the first half, see how kind of all the other games are playing out, and then decide. So I think we have we got a half here for Zeke, and I'll take a half for plus 140 for Zeke. And like you said, he's scored in like 7 in a row. What?
If that's how you're thinking, then you take him first half to score.
Yeah, you could definitely do it first half. What's that odds?
Looking it up.
It's got to be probably. It might be high 100s, maybe low 200s. Or the book's thinking the same way as I am and keep it the same damn odds.
I'm looking. There's so many touchdowns. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. So while you're looking that up, I'll go to mine, which is a pretty crazy bet, and I'm only going a half unit on this
45.
one. What is it?
245.
245. Let's do that. I like that. Let's ride with that. So first half touchdown Zeke plus 245, or you can go anytime plus 140. But I like that angle. First half, they're going to be playing competitively. They should be able to keep going against this Commanders defense. Yeah, I'm all for that. I like that. That's higher than I thought it would be. But I guess you got to think Pollard might be able to get into.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with an oddball here. It's week 18. You might as well throw some chaos into the stream, right? So this is a game theory touchdown score. Jordan Mason plus 370. He got in last week in garbage time. I believe there's going to be even more garbage time this week. CMC might not even play, or if he does play, he's going to be extremely limited. They have Elijah Mitchell that's back. Don't think they're going to try to run Mitchell into the ground. You've seen Jordan Mason produce this year, and he's a very good runner. I think at plus 370 is stupid odds for week 18 in a game that they're favored by double digits. Think they can still move the football with Purdy. They're going to get they're still going to play him a significant amount of time. But yeah, I just think this is a ton of value. Plus 370. You throw it in as a little lotto for half a unit. What'd you think about when I threw this in Discord? You're probably, what the hell?
Be honest.
I want to know.
Don't know too much about this guy.
Oh man, he's legit.
But I trust you. I trust you with my life. So, yeah, let's go Jordan Mason.
I mean, back when they didn't have CMC, he was rushing for over 50 yards for like 3 straight weeks, and he just didn't get into the end zone until last week. And you saw, I don't know if you guys watched that, when he got into the end zone, he just did not let anybody touch that football and just ran to the sideline. It was awesome to see. So yeah, he got his first one out of the way. He's going to get his second one this week. Plus 370 is pretty good value. I think this only goes down. So if you want to grab it now, you definitely can, because it'll be a little bit different when you see CMC not play. I know Debo's going to play a little bit, but I don't think they'll trust him too much in the red zone, just because they don't want to get him hurt again, and keep it a little light for the 49ers starters. All right, so
one more touchdown I think we have to talk about.
Okay.
Jamal Williams needs one touchdown
Yeah.
to tie Barry Sanders, and it's at minus 130.
Yep, that's been going. It was at plus money when they first put it out, and I was like, okay, this is going to get steamed. It was at minus 120 last night, and it's minus 130. It's going to be
minus
crazy.
130 now.
Yep.
I don't like the odds, but it'd be a fun one to kind of play, just to kind of root for him to get in and tie that record.
What's 2 touchdowns? Do you know off the top of your head? I don't know if you had that pulled up.
I don't.
Because they've been talking about that all week. That's why I think this game's still going to be very, very competitive, because they want to get to these milestones, whatnot. Obviously, have some upsets here and ruin the Packers season would be nice. And they've been talking about getting Jamal Williams this record. So I know one I definitely think can happen. What's 2 odds?
I'm looking.
All right. So
come back to that one too,
all
huh?
right. We'll finish up with plus 350 for 2.
Like
Oh,
that.
give me some of that. Give me a half unit on that. I like
Barry
it.
Sanders. That's crazy to me that Jamal Williams is right there with Barry Sanders.
Yep. Extra game for sure. Definitely. That's what always, these records are always like, it's, man, they have that one extra game, 1 extra week. It's tough to say, oh yeah, this is the record now in my eyes, but that's for another day. All right, let's get the show on the road. Let's give our best bets of the week. Side, go right ahead.
All right, so same game we just were talking about here. I am going Alan Lazard over 49.5 receiving yards at minus 115. I think this is stupid low. The Detroit secondary is gross, and we've been playing DFS against Detroit all season, and I think this is another smash spot. Big game for the Packers. They need to win this one. If you look at Lazard's his last time he faced Detroit, he had 87 yards with 10 targets. So the volume's definitely there. Christian Watson's a little banged up still. We might not see him tomorrow, so that just increases the likelihood that his target share is going to be even higher. So I think this is a good spot for Alan Lazard to hit this mark.
Yeah, I feel like this has been his receiving yard total this entire season. It's just 50.5 or 52, 54. And it's like some weeks you're just like, how does he not get there? Because he's so involved. Sometimes it just doesn't work out with Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be dialed in this week. And I know they try to lean on their run game a little bit more. I still think Rodgers wants to stick it to him. I think they lost earlier in the season to Detroit. It was like 15-9. And Rodgers was pissed about that. So I think he's going to try to put this game on his shoulders once again. I think Dubs, Lazard, Watson, I think is back for sure. I think those definitely can happen this week. And Alan Lazard, I think is out of the 3 yard receiving wise, the better receiver out of the 3 currently. And I think how it plays out in this game, he can definitely get over that hump right there. So like that, I'll get into my best bet of the week. It's going to be in the game tonight with the Jaguars and the Titans. And this is an incentive one. And it's a different incentive one because a lot of the other ones don't have what this guy really doesn't have. It's a little double negative there, but he has an expiring contract. And none of the other ones that have incentives have that. So he wants to get this ASAP. I think the whole team knows that. The team loves him here, and he's in a phenomenal matchup. He needs 61 receiving yards for 800 receiving yards, and that is a $200,000 incentive. 61 receiving yards. I think the line is at 52.5. I got it at 52.5. I think it's currently still there. He had 162 against this Titans game last time they played. Obviously, I'm not expecting a repeat, but give me half of that, and we're golden. So I just think this is a phenomenal matchup. The Titans are a pass funnel defense. They do not let you run the football. And what did Trevor do last time against these guys? Short, quick out routes to Evan Ingram and slants across the middle to Ingram. Love what he can provide for this offense. And I think him, Kirk, Jones, all going for incentives. Trevor is going to get them. I don't think all 3, maybe 2 of the 3, but let me get Evan Ingram over 52.5 receiving yards for my best bet this week.
It's at minus 110 right now.
Minus 110?
So you get a little bit better odds.
Yeah. Should be good.
I actually do have one more bet. It's not a best bet. It's not an official bet, but it's a bet I've been eyeing, and I kind of want your opinion on it.
Okay.
Jermichael Hasty over 7.5 rushing yards.
Hasty over 7.5.
Here's my thought. Okay, he's hit it in 5 straight. 33, 10, 13, 13.
What's his snap percentage? That's what I want to know.
I think
it's been going up though.
Well, it went up last week because they were blowing him out. So last week it was 40. The last 3 weeks were 25.
I mean, still, you're getting 25%, which is not bad.
7 yards.
Right. It's just if they do put them in those limited snaps, are they going to run the football? I mean, 7.5. I mean, that's for a guy that's going to get 25% of the snaps. I think you can definitely pull the trigger there. It's just not a bet that I probably would take myself, but you are the king of
I looked
finding
at it and I
those.
was like, man, that's
You're the king of
super
finding those little
low.
ones right there. So I like it. I like it. I might have a couple beers and throw that one in there for me later on. All right. Any final thoughts on Week 18? Final advice for the last regular season slate of the season?
Just be careful out there.
Yeah, limit the bankroll. Make sure you guys understand this is Week 18. Motivations for each and every team. I think we did a pretty good job of saying which teams to target, which teams to kind of avoid. Other than that, I really like the props that we took, like the stacks. So yeah, if you guys are watching this maybe later on tonight, early tomorrow morning, make sure you guys give it a retweet on Twitter, subscribe obviously on YouTube, and make sure you guys are following on Twitch. So from DotBets and SideKicksPicks, we are out of here for Week 18. We'll be back for the playoffs.